sports, outdoor activities over the weekend. Saturday was fabulous. We loaded the boat at Mudbugs, and it was nice. They were already packed when I got there, that was good to see. We are the Out of Bounds Show, ESPN 105.9 The Zone. We're brought to you by Farm Bureau Insurance. Bundle your car and home and save with your local Farm Bureau Insurance agent. This is ESPN 105.9 The Zone. We'll have Jeff Duncan, NFL insider, Saints, Pro Football Hall of Fame voter. Jeff Duncan, author of Peyton and Breeze, which is a fabulous book. He'll join us at 8:30 on the Farm Bureau Insurance guest line. And who are you rooting for in the Final Four? Or are you still interested? I think you are. It's been a heck of a tournament. Are you rooting for Bama, or has Bama won enough championships in football to where you're like, I'm good. I've had enough of Alabama and the Nick Saban run. And that's all I want to see. How do you see it, Jackson?
Bama fatigue setting in
I don't think there's any doubt
on basketball. Okay, I'm with that.
Yeah,
But surely you hang on to the SEC deal, right?
I don't think I am.
No?
Mm-mm.
Oh, man. Where are you going?
Although I love watching them play.
I mean, it's a fun team.
We've talked about Sears and Estrada and their group throughout the year. And give Nate Oates all the credit in the world. He nailed the portal. Although, not all coaches do this. He talked about how Avery Johnson left him talent. I bookmarked that. He talked about how Avery Johnson, he walked into players and they were able to win early and take advantage of that. But you've got North Carolina State against Purdue in Glendale, Arizona, to be exact, and Alabama at UConn this Saturday. Not at Alabama and UConn this Saturday. Both spreads pretty large when you think about it. We mentioned 11.5 for UConn over Bama, and 8.5. Purdue's minus 8.5 over NC State. NC State is kind of the Cinderella darling, even though they have been a good program. Won it in 83. I remember the big upset against Houston and Akeem Olajuwon and Clyde Drexler and how crazy that was. Jimmy V was a big personality. Jim Valvano. He would eventually die of cancer at an early age. Y'all know all about the V Foundation with Dick Vitale and Krzyzewski and all the big names rallying around it and raising tons of money over the years. Then they would have a guard combo of Corciani, I think it was, and Monroe. That was right, I think, at the end, maybe, of Jimmy V's run, late 80s, early 90s. So a couple of things happened with NC State. They won it out of nowhere in 83. In fact, they would win a national title before Duke and Krzyzewski because Coach K didn't get his till 91. And Dean Smith just beat NC State by a year because he won it in 82, as y'all know, with Jordan and Worthy. But when you look at what played out there, Jimmy V was one of the first coaching TV personalities, and he was doing it at the same time. I don't know how he was doing it back then. I get that air travel was still decent, but I understand he was in the research park and the research triangle of NC State, North Carolina, and Duke and Raleigh and all that. But man, I went through there for the 1985 basketball tournament. It was still kind of a dusty town too. More advanced than here, but you get what I'm saying. But Jimmy V, a couple of things would happen. The NCAA would come in and get him. That's right. And then he got cancer. But he's a big, larger-than-life personality, and he made the famous speech, and he won a national title, and he was on TV. And he was good on TV.
Yeah, he was very good.
He and Dickie V were, one was actually a successful coach. So I was going to say a lot alike. big personalities, Italian, very, not bombastic. What am I trying? Just, big personalities, engaging, relatability factor.
Right.
Very passionate about the game when they were on TV, where you had a bunch of suits at,
Oh yeah.
coming out of the 60s and 70s. Now, again, Madden, he took a different path too than the very stuffy, starch button down, tie all the way through that, type,
Right.
deal. I mean, by the time the second possession of the game started in the NFL, Madden had his coat off, his tie off,
That's right.
and his sleeves were rolled up, standing beside Pat Summerall. So everybody's got their, and I think Jimmy V would have done the same thing if you didn't have to sit courtside
Right.
when you're calling a basketball game. But NC State is back in the Final Four is my point, and they're kind of they're the Cinderella.
Yeah, they're the darling.
Because
sure.
Bama, Bama's a 4 seed, and Bama kind of tripped up at the end. Could have been a 3 seed
Yeah.
if they'd have finished the year the way that we thought that they should. So there you go.
No.
Now, did you tell me all these guys were high school coaches at one point?
They were all high school coaches at one point.
That's pretty awesome, man.
Yeah. Full circle.
That's pretty awesome. Okay. We talked about Nate Oates and Danny Hurley being high school coaches just 11 years ago, one in Michigan, one at St. Benedict's. But I didn't realize that. That's pretty damn cool.
So
Chris Jans had to grind at the JUCO level. Chipola, right down there in the Panhandle. I mean, your budget's, I don't know, if you do 4 car washes a year, your budget's $5,500, maybe $8,500.
Yeah, that's being kind.
Get the local, Ford dealer. You get, I don't know what else you do this day and age. What do you do?
I don't know. JUCO?
GoFundMe?
Yeah. Everybody's got to GoFundMe. Set it up, baby. Trying to travel. Set me up a GoFundMe. Who needs it?
You could probably do that.
I think I can pull it off.
Let's ask our listeners.
Ask a bunch of people for money.
Jackson Meadows wants to travel, so should he set up a GoFundMe? And would you be willing to kick in, I don't know, $5?
Video the whole thing.
Yeah.
GoPro strapped to the head the whole way through.
Oh, man.
Send me wherever. And just, as long as there's bail money on the other side, we're good to go. I'll take it.
I don't know if you want bail money in a foreign country.
Actually,
You don't ever know which way that's going to go.
yeah, let's rewind a little bit. I don't want bail money in any country, let alone any foreign one. But so is NC State? Is that where you're at? Are you for the Wolfpack now? Because I mean, look, they're not. I see this tweet about their last 19 days, which
I
have
don't
been
see any way in hell that they're going to win another game.
Surely
But
not,
we've been
right?
saying that for
That's
2 weeks.
Good
All right,
point.
let me throw it out. Hang on. The text line, 601-885-3776. Are you for Bama, or do you have Bama fatigue because of all the championships they won in football under Saban? And they can have that sport, and they are. And I think that they hired a phenomenal coach in football that's going to make them a million times better on offense, even though he's following the GOAT.
right.
I think they weren't good for who they should be on offense this past year. And he's either going to make Jalen Milroe better, or one of the other guys is going to step up and be better. Now, Milroe couldn't throw it from me to Jackson,
Could not.
and we're only 15 feet apart. But he can run it. And maybe DeBoer is really a QB whisperer, and he can just tweak a couple things with him, and Bama's going to get players. Now they had their 2 best receivers and a tight end are gone, but they're Bama.
Yeah. Next man up.
And I would think in this next portal, they're going to pick off at least 2 receivers, because they're going to tell people, hey, when we were at Washington, all 3 of those guys are about to go to the NFL.
Yeah. Man.
I know I just did a total pivot into football, but I'm tying Bama into it. So hang in there with me.
It's a good pivot.
Okay? Hang in there. I went from Nate Oates and Bama being in the Final Four to Kalen DeBoer and who's going to be a starting QB. People believe it's going to be Jalen Milroe, and I think it is, but I'm not. I think I'm like 70%. And he's saying all the right things. I guess he knows that he's got to because Milroe could get picked off. But he can't go into the SEC in the second port. Remember,
That's right.
you're not going from Auburn to Georgia or Florida to Auburn or Auburn to Ole Miss or A&M to or whatever. That's not happening in this one coming up. Now, you can go SEC, ACC, SEC, Big 12, Big 10, and then all the G5s, whatever. Now we don't have the Pac-12 anymore in football, so I don't know what you call. You just call those teams, whichever ones went to the Big 10 and whichever ones went to the Big 12, and then the two that got left out. They look like they're getting paid just because of, the way that the whole thing went down. But I don't know about Milroe as the starting quarterback, but DeBoer could make him to where he is light. Now he's not going to be Matthew Stafford. That's not what we're saying. But light years better as far as throwing the football and knowing that he can still run it and that they'll run a better offense. So when you mix all that together, you're going to see, I think, a more efficient and explosive offense. Yeah. Now, taking it back to Bama on the text line, 601-885-3776. Are you pulling for Bama in the Final Four? If you're a Bama fan, I know you are, but I'd like to hear from you if you're a Bama fan. Give me a Roll Tide on the text line. But if you're just a sports fan, are you pulling for Bama or NC State or Purdue or UConn? UConn just won it, and they're smashing everybody. Because I think we've almost got UConn fatigue. And by the way, they don't get the publicity as like Duke, North Carolina, Kentucky, Kansas, or even like Gonzaga, I don't feel like.
Yeah, no.
Even though they've now come on the scene, they've got this crazy good coach. They found some boosters that will pump millions of dollars into their basketball team. They won for years, don't get me wrong, under Calhoun. And we all know what Gino's done with the women's program, okay? But they have found a group of super boosters, dozen, 2 dozen, whatever, and they have, there's rumors on this team that it's, they've got over $5 million in this bunch.
Jeez. Oh, there you go. So they ponied up.
Oh, ponied up big time.
Why don't they get why does Gonzaga have a more prevalent?
Man, people fell in love with them and Mark Few, and he must work the media.
Oh, yeah. Surely.
And which is fine.
Yeah.
But, they love him. He still hadn't won it, but they made they just got bounced. So
that's right.
Yeah. They're always, I say that. You feel like they're always in the Sweet 16, Elite 8, Final Four. But UConn is drilling people.
Yeah.
Blowing people out. Dude.
They beat them boys by 25.
I know. And they're getting kind of bored. So we'll see. Now, can Bama? Noah thinks that Bama can score enough maybe to make this, and they can. I don't know. We'll see.
They beat San Diego State by 30.
UConn sets that they run are pretty freaky. So are Bama. Bama's got you remember how we mentioned Chris Jans needs to hire an offensive coordinator? And maybe 90% of coaches do. But Doug Gottlieb tweeted out that Bama has this freaky assistant coach. By the way, Bama lost all 3 of their assistants. And this freaky assistant coach that is their offensive coordinator, and give Nate Oates credit. You saw him looking over to him the whole time.
Oh, yeah.
Most coaches won't delegate enough to understand that they don't need to do it all. They don't need to coach all the defense and all the offense, worry about the substitutions, Give Nate Oates credit. I'll get his name in just a second. But this guy's, I think I bookmarked it, Jackson. It's a Doug Gottlieb tweet. I got to welcome in an awesome new partner on the show. We are excited to welcome in the Mississippi State University College of Business. And with well over $2 million in scholarships available next year, They would love for you to take a tour of the Mississippi State University campus. It is the top research institution in the state of Mississippi, and a majority of the business courses are taught by faculty with practical experience in their disciplines. Many of the programs support your goals, from an accounting major in the Atkerson School of Accountancy. You know, he's the CEO of Freeport McMoran, which is, I mean, you can see Atkerson on MSNBC and Fox Business and so on. He's a super guy, too. I met him years ago in New Orleans at the Sugar Bowl tournament. But he's always hopping around Mississippi State University, but obviously lives in the Phoenix area as the leader of Freeport McMoran. But let me get back to here. Top research institution in the state of Mississippi, and a majority of the business courses taught by faculty with practical experience in their discipline. I just read that. Many programs support your goals, from an accounting major in the Atkerson School of Accountancy to new programs in supply chain and logistics management. Online MBA that can be complete at your own pace in as few as 10 courses. The Mississippi State College of Business would like to see you on campus this spring. Call today to tour the Mississippi State University College of Business. Want to say good morning, welcome in. Let's go into some baseball for a second. I hit a little SEC football with Jalen Milroe. We don't have a quarterback battle in Oxford. Jackson Dart's going to be the quarterback. I don't believe that we have a quarterback battle in Starkville. Blake Shapen, who threw almost 800 passes at Baylor and 36 touchdowns. And as Bartu didn't know why I was asking, because he didn't keep up with transfers. He just totally looks at the numbers. But I asked him, I said, can you tell me about Baylor's offensive line? He went, why? I said, I just want to know. Tell me about Baylor's offensive line in the last few years. He went bottom 5 in Power 5. So Shapen's thrown for almost 6,000 yards, 36 touchdowns, 800 attempts. So then I told him why. He went, oh, that guy's been running for his life. So he can ball a little bit. And you've got a quarterback that can do some things. Will worked in Leach's offense, and it's a good story. You got to have a more talented guy at that position. Blake Shapen can play. If he stays healthy, I think you're going to have your best quarterback since, well, even though best quarterback as far as just production, I'd say Fitzgerald, but Fitz was more of a runner.
Right.
Okay. You're going to have your best passer since Dak. You don't know, what would have happened had Moorhead not lost control of the program and Garrett Schrader was going to be an unbelievable quarterback. And if Mullen doesn't leave, I think Keaton Thompson was going to be it's funny. Schrader goes to Syracuse and has a hell of a career, and they were terrible. He had to do everything, right? We talk about it all the time. He had to sell the Diet Cokes, sell the nachos, line the field, and then try to throw for $250 a game and run for over 100. And then Keaton Thompson goes to Virginia and starts at wide receiver for 3 years. And still probably should have been a quarterback. But they went through a tough – Bronco Mendenhall resigned unexpectedly.
Right.
They hired the Clemson OC. It hasn't gone well. If you dropped a Dan Mullen at UVA, they win 7 games a year, and every now and then they win, 8 or 9. Just because Mullen would go up there, find disciplined, cerebral kids.
Right.
He would land on a QB, and he would – and the ACC's not any good, and he would win. Now, I know the ACC's about to implode, but I'm talking about currently together, he would win. But there's always going to be that what might have been with the Garrett Schrader. 6'4", ended up 225 pounds.
He was that big?
He was a monster.
Oh, my gosh.
His last couple of years at Syracuse, I don't know. So Syracuse always comes on after game day.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
They come on at 11 a.m. Well, Schrader's tied to Mississippi State. His parents had bought a condo in Starkville. He's from North Carolina. Lugan Bill knew all about him from a young age because he's from the Charlotte area, and talked about him when he was committed and when he was at MSU. And he, like John Rice Plumlee, was thrown into the mix as a true freshman, and both of them played well, considering it's damn near impossible to play in this league as a true freshman, right? And, again, both super athletic, very cerebral, gutty, competitive winners at the high school level, everything that you want. And the new regime that took over for Moorhead wasn't going to give him a shot. He ends up at Syracuse and has a hell of a career.
Yeah.
I mean, I wonder if he could, get on an NFL roster. But I would end up watching a quarter, 2 quarters of him, and he would just run around and make plays.
Yeah. I mean, 6'4", 225, you almost take a flyer on it.
Yeah.
Practice squad flyer.
Athletic.
Yeah.
Got better throwing the ball, was never well coached probably on the offense. I mean, Dino Babers, they ran him. He got hot there for 1 second, like 3 or 4 years ago. He beat Clemson.
That's right.
Got a new contract.
Yeah.
Everybody got hot and bothered, and then they couldn't do it. Yeah, that's a tough job. Upstate New York, it's a basketball school. It's even colder than New York City. They're just not going to win at
No way.
probably at football.
No.
Right. I don't know where they're going to get bounced, Jackson. They may end up back in the Big East. Once the ACC implodes, nobody's going to want Syracuse or Boston College or Pitt.
Nope.
Or
It's horrible.
Syracuse, Pitt, Boston College. I don't know what happens to Virginia Tech. I don't know what happens to NC State, Georgia Tech. Duke may not make the cut. So it comes down to Florida State, Clemson, North Carolina, UVA, and Miami.
Duke?
But is there a 6th one? If there is, then it would be Duke.
Have to be.
Yeah.
They've had decent enough
If there's
success.
a 6th one to make it, and as we do a split to the Big 12, Big 10, and maybe SEC, but I don't know what the SEC is going to throw down for. I guess North Carolina and one other school. But as the ACC starts to implode and break up, Miami's a private school. I see them in the Big 10. FSU wants the SEC, but I see them in the Big 10. North Carolina, I believe that Sankey and Petiti will duke it out for that. And then
That's
UVA, I think maybe they automatically go to the Big 10, but trying to figure that out. And then I don't know where that leaves us with NC State or Vatech.
You were the Big 10. Would you go ahead and take Syracuse to take the whole New York market?
No, because the New York market doesn't care about college athletics. It was like the Big 10 taking Rutgers.
Who?
Yeah. It's like a pimple on an elephant's bottom.
Yeah.
It's not even that.
I mean, it's a big market, but I don't know if
Yeah, but you remember we heard all that nonsense 6 years ago when Rutgers went? I mean,
Did that pan out?
There's not 55 people watching Rutgers football or basketball in the New York Metro, unless they're gambling. I mean, right? Okay, so maybe there's 155 people in the New York metro area watching Rutgers football. Good morning. Welcome in. We are the Out of Bounds Show. Bundle your car and home and save with your local Farm Bureau insurance agent. NFL insider Jeff